the Sentinel Mindset.
Do CEOs require personal protection? Today we're going to be speaking about a story, a tragic story, of a CEO of a massive insurance company who was fatally gunned down just a couple of days in New York City. That question, do they require close protection, is a question that we've been asked in our organization by many people. Where was his protection? Why didn't he have protection? And today I want to just speak a little bit about that. But for those of you who just want to get a little bit more about the story, just follow us as we watch this video really quick.
Manhunt is underway right now for the gunman who shot and killed the top executive of America's largest private health insurance company.
The New York Police Department says he was targeted in a pre-planned attack. NBC News has obtained surveillance video of the moment of the shooting. We've stopped it before the first shot is fired, and we're only going to show you this once. Some viewers may find it disturbing. It shows UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson wearing that blue jacket, walking into frame. The shooter appears behind him, draws his gun, pulls the trigger, shooting multiple times.
Surveillance images released by the NYPD show the gunman getting away from the scene on an electric bicycle. This all unfolded shortly before 7 this morning. The shooting scene is just blocks away from where we are at Rockefeller Plaza, which is hosting the Rockefeller tree lighting ceremony tonight. Police said the suspect was last seen heading into Central Park.
Okay. Now, a person was murdered. A CEO was murdered, 5 in the morning approximately. And I've heard a lot of people say things like, why was he up 5 in the morning? Or, was this pre-planned? Did he have enemies? The whole 9 yards. And again, the question that keeps on coming up over and over again, where was his protection? And that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. But before I talk about this, let me just tell you a very quick story. We deal with executive protection as part of our business for many high net worth clientele, many film studios, many classified VIPs, dignitaries, the whole 9 yard. And the number one question that we have to always ask is, why do you feel you need protection if it's unclear? So let me go into the story. A couple of months ago, an individual was repetitively asking for protection. And we set up a meeting with him. And apparently he advised us that he had inherited a whole bunch of money. And because of that, he needed bodyguards. So the reality is that when we get that information, we want to start digging a little bit deeper. So questions like, do you have any threats on your life? Does anybody know that you have this inheritance? Why do you feel you need protection? And you just keep on throwing these questions layer by layer by layer. And at the end of it, when we were finished with this conversation, we told them, you don't need protection. And the reality is, yes, we could be that company in that business and try to monetize and make that extra dollar and say, yes, you need protection. We're going to give you 4 guys and this. The reality is this. Through the assessment, it was determined he did not need protection. And I wanted just to lead how we go into this story here. Okay? Now, with that being said, the other thing that we want to go over is, because all these questions are popping up, again, was it a hit? Why didn't he have protection? The whole 9 yards. We really got to kind of really break down what the planning is involved to determine if someone needs protection. I mean, there's people right now that are utilizing this situation to sell their services, which I find absolute madness. But this is what I want to dissect today. So we could watch the video, and I have the video here that'll give you a good idea of what happened. And we can kind of break it down line by line, right? But the one thing that you got to understand is that whenever anyone is looking for protection, there has to be a why to it, right? And that is, again, for us to determine what the threat is. You're trying to identify threats. Now, I know personally, I know a couple of billionaires, and I know some millionaires. And what I can tell you is the ones that I know of, they don't have any close protection whatsoever. They're not recognized in the general public. They are recognized, I guess, in media outlets. I mean, if you were to Google their names, you'd probably see billionaire or millionaire. But for the most part, they're out there and they don't have any protection whatsoever. And they've been living their life for years. Could they be a threat? Sure. Could you get run over passing a road? Absolutely. You could do so as well. But the bottom line is why they've probably determined why they don't need protection is because there's really no threat for them. Okay. In this specific case here, the one question that should be asked is that whatever this man was going through, was it known to the public? Was he involved in things that would be considered dark, underground? We don't know. They're just basically, it's a bunch of speculation that's happening right now, but that's what a security assessment does. It helps us break down specific questions to get answers to find out if that person needs protection. And guess what? Let's just say we did find out if he needed protection. Then there's certain things, no matter how much you plan for, that may be out of your control. And if you know what I'm talking about, let's just watch the screen here right now while I narrate this. Now, this is a video that was obtained of what happened that specific night, 5 a.m, actually, when he was shot. You can see him walking here, the freeze frames. We're not going to show you what actually happened, meaning as in once he's shot, him falling down and the whole such. But you have someone here that just has no idea what's happening. Let's say his bodyguard was with him, walking with him. Well, the gunman is going to pop out of nowhere, and then maybe it's the bodyguard that gets the hit as well. What I'm trying to get at is that you don't know that these things are going to come into place. And someone might say, well, if he had protection, it would have probably saved the day. You don't know that either. All you know is that there was something that happened here that caused his life to disappear. And I just want to make sure that when we're throwing these questions out, because I know there's a lot of clients out there that are seeing this situation here, that are CEOs, that have a lot of net worth. And the question that needs to be asked is there something that you feel could be a threat? And if you start by that question, that can start opening up a lot of other questions, or it may just close it and determine you don't need protection here whatsoever. More is going to be uncovered here in the weeks to come. We're going to find out more about the situation, if there was any ties to mobs, or if there was any underground things that were happening, or if maybe this was just completely by fluke and someone just came and shot him. At the end of the day, we don't know these answers. But what we do know here is that this man lost his life, and now we're trying to determine what happened. That's all we know. So for just as a very quick episode here, we just want to make sure you understand the processes that we use and where many organizations use when they need to provide protection to an individual is they need information. And that information creates a plan, and then you basically build all your work from that plan. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you feel that there's maybe something missing from what I'm saying, maybe there's something you'd like to add, I just want to go from a very baseline to the public, meaning as in just answering the very quick question, if he needed protection or not. The reality is, if his team was aware of threats that were going on to him, they may have very well put that in place. And maybe his entire movements, meaning as in his exposure to the public, would have been very limited. But because we don't know those information, we're just speculating right now, which is why I wanted to let you know, in order to determine whether someone needs protection or not, is through a security assessment. Hope you enjoyed this episode, everyone. If you'd like to comment in the episodes, please do. And my condolences to this individual and his family. This is an absolute tragedy. Stay safe and take care. Thank you for joining me in today's podcast. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, executive protection, security, and anyone looking to level up their mindset. If you are learning from this podcast and you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Sentinel Mindset. That's a zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast both on Spotify and Apple. And on both Spotify and Apple, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have questions for me or comments about the podcast, or guests you would like me to consider on The Sentinel Mindset, please post all comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments. Please also check out our sponsors, thearenatoronto.com. The Arena was created to help all those in the fields of law enforcement, security, and all that achieve their fitness goals. I want to thank our producer, Matthew Doyle, and creative support, Jaslene Singh, who help me with this podcast every week. We value your feedback and are here to support you. Tune into The Sentinel Mindset every week, where we look in the mirror to make real changes and explore what it takes to achieve greatness in your craft.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.